I'm Amy Cairns, for those of you that I have not met. I run the communications office with Megan for the City of Summit. This is the first time we're doing something like this, and we hope it's going to be a productive session where you get a chance to share some updates on what you're doing, what your mission is, the good work that's happening. Perhaps it'll foster collaboration among different groups and build ties to help you better achieve your goals. That's the loftiest version. At the very least, we'll get to know each other, and perhaps we might be able to work together.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Rosemary Licatisse. All of you, many of you know me, if not all of you. I'm the city clerk here in Summit, and our office does a variety of different things, but two of my favorite things are, believe it or not, the first of all is appointments. I do enjoy board management. I enjoy interacting with many of the volunteers, and it's just been a little bit of a pet of mine. The other one, believe it or not, is elections. I know this is being recorded, but I'm sorry it is. I don't know why. Especially when there are races, it's more interesting.
Hi, I'm Ellen de Havilland. I'm with Summit Public Art. I'm one of the co-chairs. Brian Carpenter is my other co-chair, if you know him. I'm also with Grace. A lot of people know me through that.
Hi, I'm Stacy Donk, and I'm with the Summit Police Athletic League.
Hi, Caroline King. I'm with the HPC, Historic Preservation Commission.
Hello, I'm Stephen Spur. I'm chair of the zoning board here in Summit.
Leslie Salcido. I'm on the Rent Commission.
Donna Goggin Patel. I'm the chair of the Environmental Commission.
Mimi Zukov. I'm the chair of the Recycling Advisory Committee.
Christine Lejoy. I'm chair of the Summit Free Market Steering Committee.
Good evening. My name is John Kilby. I'm with Summit Shade Tree Committee.
Hello, I'm Christina Amundsen. I'm the president of the Board of Trustees of the Summit Free Public Library.
Hi, I'm Nancy Gallietti. I'm the chair of the Board of Commissioners of the Summit Housing Authority.
Hi, my name is Megan Trindelli. I work with Amy here in the communications office.
But I wanted to start this evening by sharing our mission in the communications office. You can read that. But we also do media outreach, marketing, and community engagement. They're three of our priorities. We write news releases, we update the websites, social media, we have access to the DCP newsletter, and then other video announcements. If there is something you want to do or promote, please reach out, because we would like to help and work with you. We're here to support you. Our office is always interested in putting information out there as soon as it's available, as long as it's accurate and in the best interest of the public. So usually all of your work falls underneath that category. So I look forward to working with you, and our email address is pressoffice@cityofsummit.org.
So the city clerk's office, as I said before, we do a variety of things. But tonight we're going to talk about how the city clerk's office interacts with the volunteer boards. One of my main roles is to be the general liaison to all the volunteer boards. You have a question about board structure, or, public meeting, who can attend, or, what is a quorum? Please feel free to call me. I'm happy to share any information I have and give you any guidance I can give you. I maintain the volunteer database, and then I coordinate the meetings with the mayor and council, and we have annual meetings to discuss appointments for the coming year, which we're in the process of doing right now. So the bulk of the appointments will happen in the new year. Relationship between the boards and the citizens. A lot of you question whether or not your boards are actually public meetings. In the sense that they follow the Open Public Meetings Act, maybe some of you do, but not all of you are subject to that. And that's because most of you are advisory committees. If you're not an advisory committee and you make decisions, then you're in a different category, like the zoning board. Historic preservation is on that borderline. So there are some. So, when you have the public who knocks on the door and says, can I just sit in and listen? There's no reason why they can't. So feel free to let them in. Sometimes they have something to offer. Sometimes they're just seeing if it's something they're interested in joining later on. And each board is assigned a council member as a liaison to their committee. That's your conduit between the board and the Common Council. You have questions about maybe participation or an idea for a project. You have two people that you can go to, the council liaison or your city staff person who's liaison to your committee. And that staff person is probably the one who's attending most of your meetings. Sometimes council liaisons, they're not required to attend, but some of them enjoy attending or feel the need to attend, and that's okay. The other responsibility here is to seek out projects that are solicited by the council. If you need any sort of council action, it's always good to start with your council liaison, pitch the idea, see what they think. They'll let you know, probably by calling me, whether or not it requires any sort of formal council action in order to do that. I know Environmental Commission does grants. That requires council action. There's a multitude of reasons why you might need a council action. Free Market does schedule meetings. We have to approve those by council resolution, things like that. So this is a breakdown of each of the council committees. There are 2 council members who sit on each of the boards of these committees. Usually one council person will serve on 2 different boards, one as the chair, the other as a member. And each of these committees are an umbrella for the volunteer boards who report to them, if you will. So, for instance, if someone has a question and they're on the Historic Preservation Commission, they should contact Councilmember Allen, and there's a liaison, actually, there's a liaison list that I will share as well, because that's not completely accurate. We have our newest council member, who's Phyllis Sank, who is your council liaison. However, when you do need a resolution or a council action to be considered, it would fall under these committees for discussion and research and recommendation. So all of this information, I believe, Amy, will be on the website, and anybody can have a copy as a reference, and that's it. So if you have any questions about what your board does or what direction you need to go, or you need guidance on meetings or whatnot, please don't hesitate to call. You can email me at cityclerk@cityofsummit.org. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. All right, thank you.
Actually, I think this is a very good idea with the new methods of communicating with our residents these days. I think it's a good idea that we held this meeting. The biggest problem we have is getting the messages and the sort of rules of the environment out to people. So I think this is an excellent forum to improve on that aspect. I've been involved with the Shade Tree now for 14 years, 7 of them as the chair. We're basically a small group, 3 of us, and we hold our monthly meetings. Sarah Maring, Karen Piddle-Gale, and myself. We operate a stat list each month, which we cover, currently comprising of 19 areas that we are working on alternatively. Educationally, we work with the city website, adjusting any messages towards the trees within the city as much as we can, the disease factors that have been coming along so often during the last few years, and also a series we've been running which we're 2/3 of the way with Reeves Reed for the last 5 years, 3 evening talk series. This year we had a talk by John Byrne, the horticulturalist at Reeves Reed, on beaches. The second one was somewhat innovative, and it's trying to get our youth involved and participating to some degree, and that was a TikTok series. Limited success, but you have to start somewhere. So we're going to continue that. And the last is our big one, as it were. We're bringing in a chap from Illinois, Guy Sternberg, who's a well-known author and business owner in Illinois. And his contemporary title is Trees in a Changing Climate. So we're hopeful that this will be the gangbuster and will be taking place next Thursday. With regard to trees, we operate the Arbor Day each year, which has certain conditions to be met each year with regard to tree planting, the amount of money spent on upkeep, etc. And we have been doing that for a number of years now. The last one was held at the Little Forest, which we have collaborated with since its inception. The plantings this year and we will be putting an announcement out as soon as possible, have exceeded 1,200 trees. We had a target of 1,000, and it's probably just as well because we've had, with various diseases of the ash tree, the borers, etc., we've lost probably about 800 trees, city trees, and far more than that with individual residents. With regard to the city plantings, we've changed it around a bit. In the past, it costs us about $400 to plant a tree. We usually buy root ball trees because we've had the best success with them. We've thought about striplings and growing them, but our success rate has been very low. In the planting of a city tree, we put markers where they're going to be to alert the residents. This avoids, to some degree, situations in the past where trees are planted and then a resident complains that it's the wrong tree in the wrong place. And I think we've cut out those sort of problems by both planting. When the tree is planted, we have announcements on the tree as to what it is. And actually, we have, when residents have specifically wanted a particular tree, tried to meet those as much as possible. And we put signage on the tree as to the actual tree itself, the care of the tree, and we encourage residents to think of it as their own so that they will take more care of the trees in the, especially the spring plantings, where the problem in the summer is the watering, losing trees. Fall trees are all right, we get a better success rate, but in reality, spring is a big problem, and especially the last few years, you know, we're spending all this money on putting a tree in and then losing some of them for lack of care. We are updating, the last tree inventory we took was 1999. We are currently working on a new tree inventory, which will list all the city trees, the variety of tree. The last one, we had 257 varieties of trees within the city. So we've got a very good mix of trees. And as you see with this emerald ash borer that's coming from the Great Lakes, the beauty of that is that some cities and towns have put rows of trees, a specific variety of trees. Emerald ash borer comes through, wipes out a whole street or a whole road. With our mix of trees, we don't face that problem. We've obviously lost a lot of trees, but we have a good mix of trees, and we'll continue to plant in that direction. We have various groups that assist us, volunteers. Obviously, with 3 people, we need help in various projects. So we have groups of volunteers, and one of those groups is the Summit Suckers group. I'm sorry? Summit Suckers. Summit Suckers. Right, right. It's an apt name, but in actual fact, it's to help the growth of trees. I don't know if you've noticed, a lot of the county trees on the county roads, you'll see the sprouts coming out from the bottom of the trees. One, it's the actual mulch at the bottom. It's way too high. It's a donut, a heap rather than a donut. You've got suckers coming out all over. And if these are not cut back, it takes away from the actual tree. So we have these groups. I've divided the city into 11 areas. We have 11 volunteers that try and keep on top of that by removing the suckers. This will help the rootstock and the trees within the city. Our programs for the fall, we are looking to try and work more through city realtors with something like a welcome wagon sort of situation, where we provide new residents with as much tree information as we can as they come into the city, so that we can try to somewhat avoid new residents coming in and changing the character of the city. And that's what we're trying to avoid. Obviously, we've had a lot of comments in the last couple of years with clear cutting, etc., and arborvitae type situation replacing mature trees. Obviously, unfortunately, Americans, we do not value our trees as much as we should. We are merely here for a short length of time compared to trees, and we should respect and conserve our trees. We are currently also working with the Summit Conservancy, which is quite a nice idea. They've funded a tree labeling. We're going to be putting a test vehicle in the city center streets where we have one of these Q codes. Actually, the first one I saw yesterday was quite interesting. It takes not only the details of the tree, but aspects of how the tree is used. And the first one was actually a tree that's used in Japan for making those drums. So it's a nice story. The idea is that if we get people to, as we all did, coming in, taking a photograph, it will give them a bit more information of the trees and hopefully more understanding of the trees we have. We are cooperating with surrounding towns on tree aspects. We are currently well underway as to the revision of the ordinance, but we had to stop because the state mandated that we follow their guidelines, which apparently we have got into the city, and we'll try and co-opt as much of that information as possible. And lastly, if you happen to notice coming in, we have a tree in the quadrant. It's a Salem oak. A sapling of a 300-year tree, so once that tree in the green, the large one, which is unfortunately probably on its last legs, we will have something to replace it of that kind of stature. So hopefully it will outlast us all when we move it to the green. Thank you very much.
Hi again, I'm Donna Goggin-Patel, the chair of the Environmental Commission in Summit. I've been a member of the Environmental Commission for, I think, 6 years and the chair for 3 or 4. And we meet the third Monday of the month, typically every month except July and August. We always welcome members of the public. We have usually 3 or 4 guests at each meeting. It ranges from high school eco club members to just members of the community who are curious about what we're doing or who volunteer but aren't actually sitting on the commission. We are limited by statute, but in terms of how many members we have, but we welcome anyone who wants to help us anytime. I'm going to talk about some of our big initiatives. I'm going to go through 4 of them. The first, every year we have an annual Earth Day cleanup, and we welcome hundreds of people from around the city to help us pick up usually over a ton of trash and recycling in the city parks and Union County parks in Summit. We also do trail work. Tentatively, you can mark your calendars for April 13th. That's pending council approval, but hopefully Saturday, April 13th will be our next one with the Sunday available for people if it's a rain date or if you can't work on Saturday. Then the second thing we do is every couple of years, we write out basically narratives of all the sustainable measures the city is taking for an organization called Sustainable Jersey. And this takes multiple volunteers, months of time, but it's really fascinating to see how many different levels of sustainable actions take place in the city, how many great organizations and volunteers across the city are helping our environment. And this also allows us grant funding opportunities. As Ms. Licatis mentioned, the Environmental Commission relies on grants to do our projects. In terms of our third one, it's an example of this, the Tiny Forest, located behind the community center at 100 Morris Avenue. If you walk down past the baseball fields, there's a fenced area. You can't miss it. It's 11,000 square feet with an 8-foot fence around it. It's open to the public. It has a gate, but it's never locked. Please go check it out. We have over 650 native plantings in there, over 45 species, wildflowers, bushes, trees. It looks great right now. Some of the trees that we planted as 6-inch saplings are now 12 to 14 feet tall. It's really changing all the time, and we're excited about it. And that was due to grant funding from New Jersey American Water, also with the contribution from the Summit Conservancy that allowed us to put in the fence that keeps the deer out to let those native plants grow. So that's something, it's in its second year, and we're excited to see it continue. The fourth project I want to discuss is another grant. We received $10,000 from Sustainable Jersey and the Board of Public Utilities to create a community energy plan for the city of Summit. It sort of maps out the next 3 to 5 years some of the measures that we would hope to take to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We have about over 10 different ideas in it right now, and that's a plan that we're hoping to finalize and bring to council in the next months. So look for that, and I would love to hear people's thoughts. And again, to have anyone who wants to help us, please reach out. My email is summit.nj.ec@gmail.com. You can find our agenda and our minutes from all the Environmental Commission meetings on the city website. We have a Facebook group, Summit New Jersey Environmental Commission. Join it and learn about what we're doing and come help us. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy, and I'm chair of the Summit Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. We had our meeting in here last night, and let me just tell you something, the room is not getting any cooler. It was really warm. So I'm a little bit different. Our organization is a little bit different than most of you guys. We're not advisory. We are not part of the municipal plan. We are a private nonprofit that is funded by HUD. And we are the landlords and property managers of 3 buildings in Summit. The buildings that we manage are the 12 Chestnut across the street for our seniors. We have 120 units there. We have family units at Weaver Street at the corner of Weaver and Morris, right? And we have the Glenwood family units behind Hartquill. So that's our purpose in life, is to provide what we call low-income subsidized housing to residents and manage those properties. Our challenge is that we can't raise revenue. we have to depend on grants as well, just like everybody else. We do collect rent, and then we get subsidized from HUD for the rest of the rents. So we have a very fragile budget, as you know, Steve, right? Trying to keep the lights on and make the places safe and affordable and attractive for our residents. So I can go into a long history of how we got to this place, but first of all, our 3 buildings are based on a collaboration that happened 50 years ago, where everyone got together and decided to build these buildings. Unfortunately, the federal government was, they kind of got out of this business, and they stopped giving us money to fix up the buildings. So this is a problem around the country. It's like $1 billion of assets that need to be taken care of, that we're flapping in the wind trying to figure out how to do it. So they put some programs in place that we've taken advantage of. Steve was on the board when I joined, and we reorganized ourselves so that we can take on debt and get grants to renovate our buildings, because we don't have enough capital to keep them going, and it's costing us a fortune. You can imagine just the plumbing that goes on and the stuff that happens and the costs of just keeping, fixing all this stuff in the walls. So what we're about to embark on, which I'm really excited about, is we're going to do a major renovation of all 3 buildings. And so we are going around now trying to get funds. And the way that you do that is you have to go to the state and you have to apply for all these programs that can give you money to be able to go and renovate your buildings. And to do that, we need to come to the city and get a resolution that the city agrees that we have need to renovate the buildings. So that's sort of our relationship, in that we're kind of like a second cousin once removed, through marriage or something, but it's all for the good purpose of the city of Summit and for our residents. And it's really, as Steve remembers, they really are gems of buildings that we're very lucky to have, and it's really a privilege to be able to work with these buildings and residents to keep them maintained like the trees for another 50 years. And in fact, we have some of your trees, so thank you very much. We were the beneficiary of some of the trees on the property. So we have a really good working relationship with the city, but we are our own nonprofit with our struggling issues about trying to keep the operations going. So when you volunteer for our board, which is what I did, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, I thought I was volunteering to be on an advisory committee to kind of help, I don't know, the building at Glenwood and see if we could, make some things happen. And you very quickly realize that, like, oh wow, like this is a lot of work, and it's really for a good cause. So we have a difficult time recruiting members to the board. Not that we have, we have great board members now. We have 7. We have a vacancy, so I'm just putting it out there if anybody has an interest to help us, because this renovation project is really, really exciting. It's going to require a lot of communication, a lot of outreach, a lot of coordination and stuff. So we have people on the board that are really, really excited about this, that we're really finally getting this going. Okay, so this was really a wonderful opportunity to meet the other chairs like this and to kind of understand, how we're sort of related. So thank you very much, and it was very nice to meet you all.
I'm Christine Lejoy. I'm the chair of the Summit Free Market Committee. I've been involved with Summit Free Market since 2008. Amy actually and I began that with a small committee of actually middle school students. And one of the things that I really appreciate about Summit Free Market is that it is a student-run organization. We do have students who are a part of our steering committee and 2 co-chairs from the high school. We also have, besides our high school volunteers, we have middle schoolers who come and for their community service come and work at the free market, and we hope then for them to become high school members of our group. So that's one of our strong parts of our mission, as well as our overall mission, which is to keep anything we can out of the waste stream. Our goal is that materials and items that are usable can be taken and used by other people. We are so thankful for our building now. The Summit Conservancy was able to raise money for us, and so the building has been a definite plus in terms of our being able to really house materials week to week and have people be able to come and take and bring what they don't want. We're open the second Saturday of every month, and we're also open the middle Fridays. So tomorrow, 12 to 2, we are open. Please feel free to come. We're at the transfer station, and you do need to have a permit in order to come into the transfer station, but we are hoping that we will continue to do this, and that it has been something that's been very well received by the community. One of the things we just recently had to do, though, was kind of change a little bit of how we organized ourselves. So we have an hour limit now. People come for an hour, and we've asked that people not resell the items that they take, that it be for personal use. We found that residents in town were concerned about people staying all day, and we were happy to be able to then respond to them and to now have a system that I think is working very well. It's been in place since September, and we're happy with it. And so moving forward, we're hoping that that will be the way that we are able to organize ourselves. The committee does meet, the steering committee does meet every other month, and we do again have representatives from different organizations. Mimi is a member from RAC, as far as that goes, and also our 2 student chairs are also members. So again, tomorrow, 12 to 2, please join us if you're able.
So Christine, before you sit down, can you talk just for a moment about how you provide goods for people in need?
Yes, absolutely. We do also offer groups to come in if they have a need. For instance, we have several of our volunteers are part of another group that help refugees. And so they will come and they'll especially take small pieces of furniture, beds, those types of things. In the past, we've had other groups that have come in and have been able to get items for themselves. We also have many families in town who are in need of many of these items. The other thing I wanted to mention with the students too is we do have our transition class from the high school come and help us on Fridays, and we found that that's been a really wonderful experience for them as well as for us to have them helping us there. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, so I am in financial services, and I've never come to a meeting without a deck, so this is my first time. But what the PAL does is our mission is to foster a relationship between the community and the police department. Our police department serves everybody, and we really want everyone to understand who they are, what they do. I feel like the PAL is one of those organizations that does a lot, but nobody really knows what they're doing. One of the big things is we solely sponsor the DARE program for all 5th grade students. So that's a PAL sponsored program. We also sponsor scholarships. And something that you'll see us, at most town events, we like to get involved and really, we'll give out lollipops to all the children, hot dogs during National Night Out. We've kind of tried to increase our presence over the last few years. COVID put a little bit of a stop on that, but 4th of July, National Night Out, which is the first week in August. We started doing a basketball bonanza for kids, and I have to tell you, with very little advertising, we had like over 80 children show up at the rec center. It's been great. We did a ping pong night, so I definitely think there's a need in the community that we're looking at. Easter Hunt, Miracle on Elm Street. Halloween parade is on Saturday, so 2 to 4. We'll be there judging and giving out candy to all the children. And again, it's everything that we do is for everybody within the community. The way we do raise funds is, and this is purely through fundraising. So it's a golf outing that we just had on October 2nd. We also have a QR code out on the, I don't know if you've seen the PAL cart that's usually on the Village Green or elsewhere. So we have that out, the QR code, and it's tough, though. I'm sure, like everyone else, we're all kind of asking for the same things. We've done an annual mailing, which is tough because it comes out the same time that a lot of others do. So, again, looking for that, and also the fishing derby, which is an annual tradition within Summit. But again, the big focus is on getting the police together with the children as well as the rest of the community. And I think that DARE program, you start in 5th grade and really developing a relationship, and then just to have that keep going. So, looking forward to getting more people involved. We do have a board of 15, and then once you're off the board, you're kind of like an alumni, so we're also trying to figure out what that should look like, because we want to keep people and keep them engaged once they've been on the board. So happy to be here.
My name is Stephen Spur. There you go, right? It explains it all. My name is Stephen Spur. One of the first things I did when I came to Summit actually was fill out a volunteer application. It was in paper at the time. I think we're online, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit later. I had the pleasure of serving as a commissioner and then a chair of the Summit Housing Authority, and now I had an opportunity to serve as a member and chair of the zoning board. What makes the zoning board particular, I'd say kind of our sister committee in a sense, is the planning board, is we're a land use body. So where a property owner here in the city of Summit may wish to deviate from the development regulation ordinances and an improvement they want to make to their property, they need to, per statute, come before the zoning board to request permission. And we thankfully have an opportunity to liaise with Historic Preservation, Environmental Commission, Board of Health, a number of different city committees in an advisory capacity to reach our decisions. So I can't unfortunately speak to the projects we're working on. Those are active applications, and my attorney would tell me to keep my mouth shut. But we do certainly welcome the public to attend. It's something we really pride ourselves in doing to ensure that, with the help of Amy and the city and legal notice that is required for our board meetings, that we do invite public comment. We take it very seriously, and we've always found that inviting public comment, taking that seriously and incorporating the decisions we make ends up in a better decision in almost every instance. So I'm grateful to be here tonight, and thanks Amy and Rosie for organizing.
Hi, my name is Leslie Salcido. I'm on the Rent Commission. Our mission is to promote safe and fair rental practices for the tenants and the landlords. We try to educate both the tenants and the landlords. On our website, we have information about the rental guidelines. It's in English and in Spanish, and also guidelines for the landlords. The type of complaints that we currently get, unfortunately, are rent increases. That's been, unfortunately, the ones we've been hearing recently. The tenant will come to us and saying it's a 20% rent increase, and we try to help mediate between the landlord and the tenant to see if we can come up to a better increase and hopefully get them to stay. Our biggest issue that we're trying to face right now is promoting the rent commission, because by the time that the tenants are coming to us, they have 1 month left or 2 months left. So that is our biggest fear, is these people should have came to us earlier, but they didn't know about us. So that's usually our biggest issue, because we really can't promote ourselves. We really can't tell people to go ahead and file the complaint, but we want to help. You know, so we've done PSAs, we've done other stuff. The initiatives that we're looking for now, again, are just trying to find ways to help the community, how we can get, like, let people know that we are here. And that's basically it.
My name is Christina Amundsen, and I'm here as president of the Summit Free Public Library. It's an interesting name. New Jersey has two different kinds of libraries: municipal libraries, where everybody can go and freely take books out, or something called a library association, where you actually pay a membership fee and then you can take books out. We started out as an association in a private home. Dr. Constantine Risk, who people think Risk Avenue is named after a terrible place to stay or something that happened, but it's actually after this Dr. Constantine Risk, whose home was nearby somewhere, and he allowed people to come into his home and take books out. Back in, I think, 1900-something, we became a Free Summit library and became municipal, which means that we're technically a separate independent agency of the City of Summit, with our own set of rules and our own laws, and obviously our own Board of Trustees. And the Board of Trustees has three big jobs. One is to hire a really good director, which thankfully we did. The other one is to set the policies that inform the library and how it works. And the third one is to run the budget. And the budget itself is determined by law. It's based on the ratables for the City of Summit, so it goes up and down. And we are still not at the point where we should have been had things stayed at 2008, but we're getting close, and that's great. Either way, we're pretty good stewards of the city's money, the residents' money as we think of it. And our mission is very, very specific. It's to inform, enrich, and inspire the community. That's a very big mission. But basically what we want to do is promote free exchange of information at all different levels. And free is really important because it promotes a level playing field throughout the City of Summit. And that's why we do have some equipment, you know, computer equipment that people can use or borrow or whatever. And that's important because things are technical these days. And if you don't have that basic equipment, you can't really work. So our hope is that we will be a resource vital to the fabric of the community. We think we are a gem for Summit, and we really truly believe that. But more importantly, our people are the true gems behind the whole thing. And that we are going to be the focal point for knowledge, entertainment, social gathering, and the exchange of ideas. So you notice that there are always programs running at the library. There's story time for the kids. There's a trivia night that my husband and I have actually won a couple of times, amazingly enough. And there are other things like jazz concerts. Luckily for us, we have a very active Friends of the Library group and a foundation group that help us raise funds. The Friends of the Library in particular have done amazing things selling all our old jewelry. So they came up with money for us to buy seeds, native plant seeds, and have a native seed catalog that we can, you know, it's lendable, but really you don't get the back. And so another thing that you know, does is allows us to collaborate with the Environmental Commission and with Mimi and people in the Tiny Forest, where we can get the seeds from the Tiny Forest, put them in the catalog, lend them to the community. Hopefully some of them will go back to the Tiny Forest, but either way, it's native stuff that's staying in the city and it's helping the environment. Exchanging ideas is the key. Right now, we have a multi-year strategic plan, and we're at 2024, so we're working on 4 things. Optimize the space. The library is what it is. We have to sort of rejigger it all the time depending on what our patrons want. Right now, we have a huge group, thankfully, of middle schoolers and some smaller children who come in and use the library quite a bit. So that for some reason, has always been the smallest part of the library, and we're trying to inch it out and make it bigger. So look for changes there. We're also constantly looking at using and enhancing technology because, again, that's where we are. We are constantly increasing the connection with the community, not just by me, but we do have a communications group and they work with you. We have become involved more so this year with things like if there's a power outage somewhere in the city, go to the library if we have power. If there is a heat problem somewhere in the city and we happen to have air conditioning that week, awesome, come to the library. And one of the things that we're working on that I'm really excited about has been a multi-year project to finally put in a generator so that even in the event that we lose power, we still can stay open and available for the residents during our business hours and able to let people power up, let people stay cool, whatever. And finally, of course, we're always addressing our people, developing our people, making sure they interact with other groups within the city and within the county. Last night, I attended something called the Luck Dinner, and that's the Libraries of Union County Consortium. And so everybody from directors and trustees of the Union County Library Boards meet, and they have some continuing ed, but really it's a networking event, gets us all to exchange ideas about what we're doing and what we should be doing. So I told you about the generator. We are really, really proud to have gotten something called North Star Digital Literacy Status, which means that we are a spot where you can go if you don't know anything about computers. I should have learned about the QR code before today, Mimi, but I could theoretically have gone, learned how to use email, how to use the computer, how to do whatever, set up a presentation. It's possible to learn these things even as you get older or even when you're very young, and this is a place that, you know, we have people trained to teach you how to do that. On the opposite side of the spectrum, we're focused on literacy, obviously, books, right? Books are physical or they're electronic. But more importantly, you have to learn how to use them and how to manipulate the information, how to share it, how to get somebody excited about it. Typically with children, we start with story time, and they get exposed to the books. They're read to them in a very exciting, dramatic way, and that's fun. But what about caregivers and parents who don't necessarily know how to do that at home? So we have a program called Every Child Ready to Read that actually is intended for the caregivers and the parents and the grandparents, and I'm in that stage now, so we can make reading more exciting for those we read to. And then I just wanted to mention the outside of the library a little bit. We have been working with Boy Scout groups, Boy Scout leaders in particular, and they have helped us build something we're very proud of. The Story Walk is a bunch of they're dais-like things, and they're in primary colors, and every month a different story is literally taken apart page by page and displayed. There are specific rules for doing this, so they're displayed in these things, and you can walk by on the little stones that we created and read those. This was amazing during COVID because you didn't have to go to story time now. You know, we had the ability for people to walk by and read the story. We also have a learning garden named after a gentleman who donated some funds because he used to go to the library and help plant. And so we have had another Boy Scout make 7 raised beds, and we have a program called Little Sprouts where they literally plant seeds inside in the library over the winter, and then they go out and plant them and take care of them over the summer. And we're hoping that we're going to get enough vegetables to share with Grace. So there's hope. There's hope. And I wanted to mention also our book bike, which you may or may not have seen at some of the Summit City events. It's super bright, and the fun part, and we are also taking it to Grace from time to time. The beauty of it is that it's set up so that somebody can get a library card or figure out what they want to borrow or whatever. It's a way to reach out, and it's really been very successful. And last but not least, we are celebrating our 150th anniversary in 2024. So from January to June, we're planning 150 days of fun stuff. Be on the lookout, culminating with some sort of fun party that the foundation is trying to plan so that we can raise some more funds. And thank you. And I am just blessed to live in Summit, and people like you are making it all better. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Caroline King, and I've been a member and alternate in the beginning of the Historic Preservation Commission for about 6 years. So it's pretty exciting. Our mission is in our title, so clearly we're focused on preserving the structures and the history of Summit. And there are a couple of programs that we run. One is the plaque program. So we recognize, we actually have architects and technical folks in the team as well, and we recognize homes that are of historic significance. And so that's something I don't know that many people are aware of, but you get a beautiful plaque. And we're able to talk about the history of Summit and what's happened with the homes. So there are really interesting things. I'll just give a quick example. Beacon Hill Club, they have a wonderful display in the Carter House on that, and Beacon Hill is really historically significant. On that hill, they built one of these towers, and they lit it on fire, and it helped George Washington know, I see smiles here, but it's those, when the Redcoats were coming, but it's important, and I think one of the challenges is really finding a way to make sure, again, funding's a challenge, to preserve all that's great about Summit. So that's one. We started a program in 2020, tough year, because COVID came along, but we're also having annual nominations for awards for historic properties. So there's a website, it's the city website, and you can click in and nominate a property. So it's something we probably need more time with Amy. And we'd like to, it is open to the public. We've been doing that as a commission, but again, we want more awareness on that. So that's another program. Another thing that we've been able to do is partner with the library. So we're very excited. Actually had a conversation and a project come through this year with Amy Bear Shields, the new director. She's relatively new, right? And we actually now have digitized and online the entire collection of the historic sites inventory for Summit. And so that's available, and people can learn and research about all the historic homes and the historic districts. So we're pretty excited about that and coming into digitization. And then in terms of other commissions and committees we'd like to partner more with, certainly with environmental, because one of our big challenges is around demolition. So we certainly partner with zoning and planning, but when that happens, a lot of times trees come down, not only the homes. And so that has been a challenge, and what we'd like to do is partner with everyone. We're interested in building, but we're also interested in preserving, and we really believe there's an ability to balance both. So hopefully we can partner with more of all the folks in this room to think about how we can do that and preserve what is Summit.
Hi, I'm Mimi Zukoff. I'm the chair of the Recycling Advisory Committee. I started out as the Environmental Commission representative on the Recycling Advisory Committee and somehow ended up the chair. So the Recycling Advisory Committee is really not that much about recycling anymore, but that just happens to be the historic name for our committee. What we do is we work on finding ways for the city to keep things out of the trash stream. All of the trash in Union County goes to the incinerator, and that has a lot of environmental implications. And so we work on projects to assist the city to implement new programs. The program we've been working on mostly this year is promoting the food waste recycling, food waste composting program. It's a drop-off program at the transfer station. It took about 10 years to get it into play. About 30% of most household trash is organic food waste. So the great thing is if people collect it and bring it to the transfer station and drop it off there, it goes to a facility down in, it's called Trenton Renewables, and it's put through a machine called an anaerobic digester, and which means that it's digested by microbes without oxygen, and the gases that are produced through the process are captured and used to power the facility, and any additional power that's created goes back into the energy grid, so it's very green. And there's minimal exhaust, and the final product at the end is, it's not really compost the way you and I think of compost, but it ends up being an agricultural amendment. So there's really no waste, and it's utilizing all those resources. We also spend a lot of time, we sit at tables around town to try to teach people about the reason they might want to do the composting, since it is voluntary. I mean, I personally think it should be required by law in the state, and I would work very hard for that. But in the meanwhile, it's completely voluntary. So, and people say, "Oh, why would I want to do that? It's dirty, it's smelly, blah, blah, blah." And we teach people. In fact, today, there was a gentleman came to my house who I met at Reeves Reed Arboretum a couple weeks ago when we had a tabling event, because he had a lot of questions about composting, and he wanted to know about home composting, because you can also do it at home with no animal products, but fruit and vegetable scraps and yard waste. And so I said, well, why don't you come over to my house? I'll show you how I do it. And I spent an hour talking to this guy, and he was very excited. And so that's the kind of thing we do. We do a lot of community education, the Lego collection at the transfer station, the cell phone collection, probably the electronics. All those things started through the Recycling Advisory Committee. And we welcome participation. A lot of our most active members are not official members, but citizens from the city who care about these things and come to our meetings, which are on Zoom, so they're very easy to attend, and they're rarely even an hour. And that's what we do.
The fun one.
Yes.
That's what I'm told I am.
Yes.
Hi. It's fun, but it's still business. And I want to say this is really exciting meeting a lot of you in person, because I talked to a lot of you, and there's a lot of crossover. A lot of you know me from Grace. I do the development and the fundraising and events for them. But I'm here today with Summit Public Art. Summit Public Art has been here for about 20 years. It started as the Mayor's Partnership of Summit Public Art, and we used to be under fiscal sponsorship of the Summit Foundation, and in 2020 we separated on our own to be big kids and grow our own muscles, and we formed the Friends of Summit Public Art. Most of you probably know the city doesn't fundraise. We do work with the city grant writer here and there for different things. We've been able to tap into funds that the city is eligible for that as a arts organization we may not be, or sometimes it's just important to have that city power behind it. So I do most of the grant writing for it, and we've been able to get grants from the State Arts Council in Union County and some different places. And what's great is I'm mentioning the state and I'm mentioning Union County because that our art is open to the public, and because we've brought in such incredible artists, we've become very well renowned even across the country, and been able to bring in some fantastic artists. I do have a co-chair that I have to mention, because a lot of you, I noticed there's one chair, and you'd think, oh, Summit Public Art, it's fun, it's easy, just plant a piece there, it's, nothing, but it's actually a lot of work. And running essentially the foundation, the Friends of, is your fundraising, all those funds. So everything that goes out there, obviously there's some projects that we co-collaborate with other organizations. So sometimes, like the fountain was a major project that the city of Summit needed to do some fixing on the fountain, things like that. So we worked with Summit Downtown Inc., we worked with the city, and then we worked with us to fundraise with our community. Most of our funding, I'd say almost 99% of it, comes from Summit residents, as far as those private donations. So when you walk around town, you can now see more than 14 pieces. I think it might be 14, it might be 15. Don't quote me on that. You can go on my website and count everything. But Summit Public Art's website is also a phenomenal place. If your committees don't have a website already, I think it's a great example of how you can show what you have and has the message right there. But we've basically created where artists can see their artwork for many, many years. They can see who sponsored pieces, things like that. So there's some benefits to our donors to have their names not just on the signage, but for essentially eternity, but it also becomes sort of our historical booklet. So when we were founded 20 years ago, we sort of had, papers here or there. They were passed in a folder amongst the chairs. Again, we grew up. It became more and more official as we're able to bring in bigger pieces and work with galleries and bring these artists in. we really needed to give those shout outs to the artists, because these artists are paid honorariums. We're often renting the pieces essentially. And that's one of the things a lot of people say, oh, I don't really like that. I shouldn't say a lot of people. I don't hear that much. Actually, I hear a lot of really good stuff. But every now and then you hear, oh, I don't really like this piece. Well, you know what? It's temporary. It's going to be gone in a little while. But give us your feedback, please. We want to hear what you like, what you don't like. We try to stay away from anything that's too political or too edgy for the most part, because that it is public art. It's out there in our community. But we do take input. So we have an art selection committee that takes a lot of time to review all that detail. Then it gets reviewed. We look at the budget. We say, how much money do we have to spend on art this year? How much? And we do a gala each year. I don't know what we're going to do in the next year. We've got a little bit of looking at, as I hear everybody, we need funds and we need volunteers. And we are tight on volunteers that we have a very strong committee with a lot of talent, but nobody has time. Nobody has time anymore. So even though you can have a lot of talent and a lot of skill coming in, if you don't have the time to do it, it's really tough. So just making it work and keeping it going. So if people are involved, sure, we're a lot of fun. I did run a meeting in 35 minutes once. I try to keep meetings to under an hour, but sometimes the meetings are really exciting. You know, in all truth, we have had 2-hour meetings, but we're talking about artwork and art pieces and really getting into it, and it can be a lot of fun. If you're interested in just learning more about it, reach out to us. We love giving tours. We work with a lot of these organizations in many different ways, and yeah, just let me know if you have any questions, but I think I covered everything.